Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Phil Switch Podcast. My name is Phil Carute, and I am joined by my fearless co-host, Brock Tamarino. The Phil Switch Podcast is brought to you by Sal's Tire Caps. Sal's Tire Caps. Twist it and forget it. You know, Sal does such a great job writing the copy for us for his ads here. I can't wait till he starts sending us checks. Brock, sorry, I want to get right into it.
Yeah, go right ahead, no problem. Just hanging out in the studio here, recording another episode. So do what you gotta do.
Anyway, so I'm at work, and every time I go into the office, without fail, there's been some TV show that's been turned on or some channel that's been turned on, and then it's just left there for weeks. Anyway, the past couple of days, it's been that show, Catfish, on MTV. Basically, are you familiar with that show, Brock? Catfish?
Not really. I don't really watch. I kind of stopped watching MTV after they stopped playing, music videos, because that's why I started watching it when I was a kid and it came out. They used to play music videos. Now I know that's a common critique or criticism of MTV now. Especially from maybe an older generation, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, so I used to watch them while they were still playing music videos. They stopped doing that and started playing television shows, and that's when I stopped watching it. So no, I'm not familiar with the TV show you're talking about.
Okay. Anyway, it's basically this TV show. You know what Catfish or Catfished is on the internet, Brock?
Kind of, from hearing other people talk about it. Isn't it like where somebody tries to meet somebody else on the internet, and the person they thought was somebody beautiful ends up being somebody else, typically with some type of, I don't know, unattractive feature. I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's basically the gist of it. The thing is, as I've been like going into the office and getting some paperwork done, things like that, and I happen to glance up at the TV we have in there, it dawned on me, because I haven't really watched the show before. I mean, I've kind of seen it in passing, but I haven't like sat down to catch up on Catfish. It dawned on me that what it typically ends up being are, on a scale like 1 to 10, people say like, oh, he's a 10 or she's a 10. That means like they're really attractive or some type of celebrity status thing. It seems like it's a lot of 5s and 6s getting angry because they didn't score. Sorry, my nose itched. Because they didn't score the 10. That's the theme I'm catching here. A lot of 5s and 6s, maybe 6.5 every so often, that are mad at the end because, as luck would have it, the 10 was actually a 5 or 6, 6.5. And now the 5 or 6.5 that originally thought the other 5 or 6.5 was a 10 is disappointed because they didn't get a 10.
Yeah, that I could see. Yeah, especially with the internet, I could see it working out that way. People get on the internet and they do little dances and stuff, and they want everybody to cheer like they just won some kind of scholarship to go to a prestigious college on a dance scholarship. But actually, the dance is at best mediocre. So I could see that coming from the internet. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, anyway, so what I was thinking, we actually had a whole other topic for this episode today, and then I got to thinking about this catfish thing, and what I'm actually thinking now is that maybe we ought to see if we can have callers call in and let us know, have you ever been catfished? I've never been catfished. I didn't really do any internet dating or attempt to do any internet dating, so I was able to stay clear of the catfish thing because I actually was able to just, socialize with people that I could see face to face on a regular basis. That seemed like a safer option, safer route to me.
Yeah, I never got duped into that either. like to see people, like you said, face to face, and meeting people on the internet just seemed weird to me. Not that I'm saying you're weird if you meet people on the internet. Don't get me wrong. I've known people that it's worked out well, I guess, but yeah, just not my thing. So let's take callers, see what we get, see who comes through on the lines. Our producer is always ready at the phone, so I'm sure he'll bring some people in. And we got the phone lighting up already. So let's see, who do we got here? Looks like we got what's he saying? Blake. Blake, oh yeah, we've heard from you before. Blake, tell us about your catfish story here. Okay, so like, picture this. Like I was like, so like I was talking to this girl online, right? And she sent these pictures and she looked like real pretty, but it was weird because she always made those duck lip things. And I thought maybe she had like that Botox stuff put in her face. But I come to find out some girls make that duck lip face on purpose, actually, which is kind of weird. But anyway, she sent these pictures and like even with the duck lips, she kind of looked okay. So like I was thinking like, oh, I'd like to get to know her. This would be cool. So like we're talking for like 4 months over like messaging stuff, like through social medias. And like I go to meet her, right? And here's the thing, man. Like we met at Starbucks. I asked her, hey, what do you want? Because I saw her and actually she didn't look bad. She definitely wasn't the duck lips girl. Was a totally different person. But I was like, oh, well, sometimes you roll the dice. And so anyway, we got Starbucks and I'm like, well, what do you want? She asked for one of those like, what are those milkshake things? Those Frappuccino things. And honestly, I don't go to Starbucks. I just went there because she asked me to meet her there. And anyway, she ended up ordering like 5 of those, man. And like, I was like, whoa, I can't afford this. So like, I went up and I got the 4th one and I was like, okay, like cash me out. I told the coffee guy. And so like I paid for the 4 and then she ordered the 5th one. And I was like, oh, I'll go get it for you right after I go to the restroom. And then I think she might have seen me because then I just left out the front door. Cool. So the catfish part was that it just was a different person. Is that right? Yeah, it's a totally different person. She had, so in the picture, she had the duck lips. This girl didn't have duck lips at all. And then in the picture, she had red hair, which was kind of cool. And this girl that I ended up meeting, she had like brown hair. And I thought like, oh, maybe it's red, like if it hits the sun, but no, it wasn't. It wasn't. And then like the girl online says she was like a supermodel, which I think she held all the weight in her lips. But this girl that I ended up meeting was probably like $3. And so, yeah, just like, that was fine with me. She was nice, but it's like, whoa, I can't afford like 5 Frappuccinos every time we go out. So yeah, that was like an instant, like, no sale. So now I'm talking to this other supermodel on Instagram actually. And and so I'm talking to her and actually like all these people are sending me stuff on Instagram now. Like all these people, like one guy even asked if I wanted to start a business with them. So I'm trying to get some money around. Don't do that. Don't send that guy money. Let me guess. He's got like probably like 4 or 5 numbers after his name. Is that right? Is that right, Blake? Oh, do you know him? No, Blake, just, you know what, Blake, here's what I tell people. Just be friends or follow people you know or that you can somehow verify are actually people. If they have like 5 to 6 to 20 numbers behind their name, Blake, they're probably not a real person or they're just faking with you, okay? Oh. So this guy, do you think this guy could still make me a millionaire? No, Blake, he's not going to make you a millionaire. Hey, Blake, thank you for sharing your story with us. Keep your money to yourself. And we have another caller coming in. So, caller, we have Joe.
Joe, tell us about the time that you were catfished.
All right. Well, actually, what I'm calling about, fellas, is there's actually a time where I wasn't so much catfish myself. I was accused of catfishing someone else. So it's kind of a funny story. I was talking to this gal online. We were exchanging pictures, all appropriate pictures, of course. I was actually exchanging quite a few pictures of my book collection. So she was really into that. She asked a couple times for us to do some voice stuff, and I was like, well, I don't like talking on the phone, things like that. So we just kept doing stuff through messaging. Sent her some pictures. She sent me some pictures. She had some lovely magazines, a bunch of like home improvement magazines. She had some cooking magazines. Very interesting gal. And so anyway, we talk a little bit, talk a good spell actually, and we meet. We met. I forget where we met now. It's some restaurant because I think we were going out to eat. And so, anyway, about halfway through the appetizer, talking to her, talking to her about this new thing I'm doing, where basically what I do is I collect books. And every so often I'll go make photocopies. Now I don't sell them. I don't want any copyright issues, but just for myself, for fun, I'll make photocopies of random pages, and then I'll put them all together and try to create what I call what I call is a random story. So I'll create a random story. And so you're reading a page, and you might, I shuffle them all together. So you might be reading like the very last page of one book, and then like the chapter two of another, page of chapter two of another book. And then it could very well, now this has been real crazy when it happens, but I actually put the foreword at the end of a book one time. So that was kind of crazy. Anyway, I'm talking to her about this, and I'm saying, oh, it's mind blowing. I mean, it's like, if you can think outside the box, this is outside the box, through a hula hoop and into a small pool. That's where this idea came from. So I'm talking to her about that, and halfway through the appetizer, I remember I'm sitting here spreading some of that. What is it? Fondue. I got some fondue cheese. I got a little piece of bread. I'm sitting here spreading the fondue on the bread, just kind of laughing to myself at this crazy idea I had. And she says, when we were just talking, just messaging, I liked you more, she says to me. And I kind of laughed, thinking, oh, that's a funny joke, And then she's like, no, really. I liked you more when we were just messaging. And she then said, I remember just like it was yesterday, she said, I think I'm going to excuse myself and leave. Why don't we just be messenger friends? And I remember right then, she walked out, and the waiter came in, and he said, oh, are you guys ready to order? I said, well, actually, she just left. And he said, why? And I said, well, just a misunderstanding. And she texted me when she was leaving and said, hey, I feel like I've been catfished. When you messaged me, you seemed a lot smarter. And I was like, well, yeah, win some, you lose some, I said. And I ended up texting my buddy, and I said, oh, you never believe what happened. And my buddy, not always the most supportive guy, I'll be honest with you, he ends up texting me back, and he says, all he did, now this was kind of funny, though. He sent me one of those GIFs that, and it just had a big, bright, shining word, and all these fireworks coming out of it, and in the middle, that bright, shining word said, friend zoned. And so that's my catfish story. I guess if I was in that show you guys were talking about, not that I've seen it, of course. I don't watch that stuff. But I'd probably be the guy that the camera crew shows up with in the middle of a park, because they got to meet at a public space in case the person's crazy. And they're like, Joe, this isn't who we thought you were going to be. And I'm looking at I'm probably, like you guys said, probably looking at some dumpy lady, thinking to myself, well, you're not who I thought you were going to be, because you only post pictures of your face. So, yeah, that's my catfish story. I was the catfish guy, and she was catfished. and still message her from time to time. She replies every so often. She blocked me one time, but that was a misunderstanding. She says she says she hit the wrong button. So anyway, that's my catfish story. So hope you guys have a good day.
Wow, that sounds pretty rough. Yeah, Phil, the more I hear about this catfishing and this internet type of stuff, the happier I actually am that I never did anything online as far as that went. So yeah, I'm definitely happy about that. Okay. Let's go to another caller here. I'm kind of looking through who the producer is bringing up, and he has Rakesh. Rakesh, go ahead with your catfish story. Let us know what happened. Were you catfished, or I guess we might be talking to a catfish from our last story. So, Rakesh, go right ahead.
Okay, well, I want to start out by telling you one thing, okay? I was talking to a person, and they were online. Obviously, they were online. And so this was about 3 months ago, right? And I called them and I said to them, we are messaging. And I said to them, I said, we have been talking for 2 to 3 months. We have been talking archaeology. We have been talking paleontology. We have been talking all kind of things that interest me to my heart. And I tell to her, I say, would you like to meet for dinner? And she tells to me, she says, I don't want to meet for dinner. I just want to enjoy what we are having right now. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, if you are enjoying what we are having right now, maybe we are to be enjoying something on a more romantic level. So I'm like, if you do not want to get dinner, and at this point I'm getting very suspicious, right? I'm thinking to myself, she is trying to hide something from me. I do not know what it is, but we have been talking for 2 to 3 months and she will not meet me for dinner. And the conversations have been very good. Like I tell you, they are stuff we are both interested in. Very interested. You would not believe what we are talking about. And so I tell to her, I say, okay, if you do not want to meet for dinner, would you like to maybe just see a movie? That way, if we get to the movie, I will pay. And if we get to the movie and you're not liking the movie, you can leave the movie. And I will sit there alone with my popcorn and soda. And I can tell because I see the little dots, so I can tell she is thinking, but she is not saying anything. Well, I end up just interrupting quickly before she can say anything. I said, okay, what if, hold on, you don't want to go to dinner? This I understand. And maybe you don't want to go to a movie, or you are feeling apprehensive. So what would you like to do? What is it that you and I could do that you would feel comfortable?
So at this point, she doesn't want to get dinner. She might not want to go to a movie. We haven't got there yet. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your story. Did you ever think that maybe she was just kind of like, I don't know, like maybe this wasn't going to work out because she was so avoidant. I mean, some people just get very nervous and they have like anxiety, so they don't want to like maybe meet the person. But I'm thinking to myself, like maybe like, this isn't the girl for you if she really doesn't want to meet for anything. It sounds like you want to go out for something. I feel like I'm a counselor right now. Am I a therapist? Phil, am I a therapist right now?
I don't know if you're quite a therapist yet, Brock, but let's see what were we gonna say.
So I'm thinking like if Rakesh really wants to meet her, but she doesn't want to meet him, then maybe that's never gonna work out because Rakesh seems like maybe he's more of an outgoing guy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh, Brock, it is so crazy you are saying this because what I ended up finding out is. Well, that is not correct, actually. What I ended up finding out was that she ended up not wanting to go to a movie or dinner. And the reason being, and I will tell you this, I don't want to, spoiler alert, I don't want to spoil it, but I will tell you this, I am not with this person today. The reason she did not want to go out, and I tell you this to the truth, because I ended up talking to a friend that talked to a friend that knew her, and they confirmed it. But apparently, and I don't want to embarrass anybody, so I'm not going to say her name, but apparently she had explosive gas where every 10 to 15 minutes she would just have an explosive bout of gas. And my friend that talked to his friend, that friend told him that it was a real doozy. Like, for one, they were very loud. And secondly, if you can believe this, secondly, they were quite odorous. So I end up telling her later. This was a conversation I had with her just a few days ago. I said, I understand your condition. I would still like to be friends. And she said to me, okay. Now you might say to yourself, Rakesh, that is not really a catfish. But here is the thing. I asked her specifically the very first time, do you have any problem with gas? And she is to be telling me no. So it was kind of a catfish in a way because I asked her at the beginning. And you might say, Rakesh, why would you ask someone if they have gas? And it is because I had older brothers. And for the longest time when I was a child, my brothers thought it would be so funny to just fart on me. They would call the game Fart Rakesh. And what they would do is they would hold me down one by one and they would fart in random areas, mostly in my face area. And I never liked it. So that is a question, oddly enough, that I ask everyone. And in my head, how it works is if I ask you that question and you're willing to answer it, then I know you are an okay person. And that is where like I said before, I was catfished. I asked her and she said, no, there are no issues. But then there ended up being issues because of that. So that is my catfish story, and I'm sticking to it, friend.
Okay, Rakesh, that is one of the weirdest catfish stories that I can say I've heard, and I've only heard, 3 now? That is definitely the weirdest by far. I don't know about Phil. Apparently he's obsessed with this TV show or something.
I'm not obsessed with the TV show. I was just saying that I've seen it a lot at work, but I'm not obsessed with it. But that's still the craziest catfish story I've heard, Rakesh. Thank you for calling in all the same. We have one more caller. Gil, you're on the Phil switch, and we are talking about a catfish situation. And I believe the producer explained it to everybody in case they didn't understand. But if you're listening to the show and you called in, you probably understood it. So, Gil, go ahead. Share your catfish story with us.
Okay, so this is going to seem kind of weird, but my catfish story actually had to do with, and drumroll please, this is kind of a joke, kind of a pun, but it was actually a dogfish story. So I was looking for a new dog, and the dog that I really wanted, was some type of larger dog. I didn't really know what dog, but I was looking for larger dogs. Well, as luck would have it, I found somebody, and it was on Facebook? Yeah, I think it was on Facebook. I found somebody that was selling St. Bernards. So I contacted the person and I went through the whole thing. I don't know if you guys have ever bought a dog before, but there's a waiting period because obviously the female dog gets pregnant, then she has to wait till she has the puppies, and then there's X amount of weeks before you can pick it up. So anyway, I talked to this person on Facebook, seems like a very nice person. I talked to them quite extensively. I tell them I have a house, I have a place this dog can live. I plan to feed it, I plan to water it, I plan to take it on walks. I'll probably train it at some point. Obviously, I'm going to train it not to use the facilities in my house. I'm going to teach it to use the facilities outside of my house. And so I'm talking to this person and everything seems fine. It seems like, yes, I'm definitely getting this St. Bernard. I didn't think once about calling it Beethoven, even though that was a fabulous series of movies. But anyway, I'm talking to this person. I'm thinking I'm going to get this St. Bernard. The day has come. And I'm going to collect my St. Bernard, which, to be honest, I didn't even have a name. I thought I'm going to see this dog, a name's going to come to mind, the stars are going to align, and that will be this dog's name. So I go there to get the dog, okay? And I'm driving. It's about a 2.5 hour drive. I had prepared. I had bottled water. I had snacks. some of my favorite snacks, Cheez-Its. I even had some beef jerky, which I don't always like because it gives me indigestion. But for some reason, I thought I saw it there at the store, and I thought beef jerky is the travel food to get my St. Bernard. So I go to get my St. Bernard. As soon as I show up, and I will say I made a boo-boo after talking to friends. I saw all the St. Bernard puppies, but I never really disclosed, and I guess we never agreed which one I was getting because it didn't matter to me and I didn't think like that. I just thought I want one of those. And the guy's like, no problem, I'll get you a puppy. So I show up, and as fate would have it, there is this miniature golden doodle poodle thing. Initially, I was a little disappointed. I had to gather my thoughts, gather my emotions, try to bring it down to level ground zero. And as I'm looking at this puppy, I'm thinking to myself, Gil, you've come here for a St. Bernard who has no name. You've not named him. You've not thought the first thing about it because you were going to see if the stars aligned. So I got this little miniature golden doodle poodle, and I picked it up in my arms. It was the softest thing I ever felt. I felt like if I were to touch the buttocks of an angel, this is what it would feel like. I was convinced. And so right then, as soon as I felt this golden doodle poodle on my face, on my shoulders, that's about as far as it went because they're super small. As soon as I felt it, the name that came to mind, and I kid you not, I remember it as clear as day. It was in my head. It was like a lightning bolt. It was like, whoosh, and before I knew it, the name Pookie came to mind. And so the gentleman that was selling this, I said, well, this isn't a St. Bernard. And he said, well, in all honesty, full disclosure, I did say I would get you a puppy. And I, being a huge jokester, always laughing, I said, you got me on that one. That's all you. Good job. And I said, you're never going to believe the name that came into my mind for this golden doodle poodle. And he said, what name is that? And I said, you're never going to believe it. And he said, what name is that? And I said, listen, if I told you what I was going to name this golden doodle poodle, you would never believe it. And he said, what is it, for God's sake? And I felt he was, at this point, I felt he was getting aggressive, but I also knew that I had made this statement several times. A lot of times my friends will tell me, Gil, you keep repeating things over and over instead of just telling us. And so I tell this guy, I said, you're never going to believe the name. And at this point, he starts to turn around. And I'd forgot to even pay him. He's actively leaving, and he didn't even get the money yet. And I said, sir, I got to pay you. And he said, oh, yes, that's right. The dog cost a fortune. But anyway, then I tell him, I say, okay, I said, I'm sorry. I know you're frustrated. I keep saying the same thing over. I said, it's a thing I do. I don't know what it is. I don't take medication for it or anything, but it's just a thing I do. My friends have told me about it. And so I tell the guy, I said, what I'm going to name this golden doodle poodle is I'm naming it Pookie. And the guy grabbed the money out of my hand and he went to his car and he drove away. And I want to say that I saw a smile on his face, like he had made the right connection. But anyway, that was a Catfish story that I had because I was supposed to get a St. Bernard, obviously. Now, I do feel in my heart of hearts, if it had been a St. Bernard, I don't think the name Pookie would have come to mind. But as the Lord would have it, this was a golden doodle poodle. And so Pookie was the name I came up with. And it's a Catfish story with a happy ending. And I think that's worth its weight in gold. So I'm so happy to have shared that with you guys. And thank you for having me on the Phil Switch. I listen to you guys every week and just makes my heart flutter. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Gil. Very interesting story. Very interesting story. So that is going to be about it. We are hitting our time here. We've been going over a little bit, so we're trying to rein this back in by our producer's request here. So Phil, you can go ahead and take us out here. I just want to tell everybody thank you for listening to another episode of the Phil Switch from your good buddy Brock here. So Phil, go ahead.
All right. Yes. Thank you. Thank you to our callers. Thank you, Gil, for that inspiring golden doodle poodle story. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening to the Phil Switch podcast. Don't forget to check out my other podcast, the 1st and 15th, that I co-host with Kaplowitz over at Kaplowitz Media. If you would like to contact us here at the Phil Switch, you can do that through YouTube, through our email, thephilswitch@gmail.com. Again, that is thephilswitch@gmail.com. Also, we are on Rumble. You can find us on Rumble at The Phil Switch. I don't think it's at. I just think it's The Phil Switch. So, yeah, you can contact us on YouTube, Rumble, and through our email. Anyway, guys, we wish you all a great week, and we will talk to you soon here at The Phil Switch.